All right, we're back. Episode 55, weighing in with Travis Hartman. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we listen and we operate accordingly. That Thursday Weekend Trav. I am B-Money, the producer. Today's show, we're going to talk about are YouTubers and TikTokers ruining boxing? Towards the latter half of the show, we're also going to discuss some of the differences between your professional boxing and the Olympic boxing, as it's relevant right now, as the Olympics are underway in Japan, and then even highlight some things coming up, especially this weekend. Friend of ours, friend of the show, Chris Billum-Smith is fighting Tommy McCarthy out in England. We'll get to that at the latter part of the show. But Weekend Trav, we want to jump right in because this is a very heated topic, and it's a topic that gets a lot of media attention and a lot of social media attention, really. Are YouTubers and TikTokers ruining the beautiful sport of boxing?
Those damn Paul brothers. I'm just kidding. So personally, for me, I'm going to say it like this. No, I don't think they're ruining it. I think they're adding to the audience a little bit. I don't think that there is any purist boxing fan that is no longer a fan of boxing because YouTubers are fighting, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But I do think that there are some of those purist fans that will watch it a little bit, but also we're bringing in a different demographic, a different age group. And I think that's probably what's plagued boxing a little bit and this is also why I think that UFC has... You've seen a rise in UFC ratings and stuff like that I think now they've kind of leveled off, but when it kind of got popular, you've seen a younger crowd. The demographic for UFC was more of a younger crowd watching that, right?
Yep.
Boxing had the old established guys as fans. We've always had that. So I think that what we've always been missing out is those younger eyeballs coming up to the sport. So I think that YouTubers are adding to that. I really do. Are they adding to the pure form of like legit real boxers? Probably not. But I will say who all pretty much kind of started it all was Logan Paul and KSI. They were the first ones that kind of crossed over and did pro boxing, even though they were not even amateur. They're definitely not boxers. They did a pro fight card on DAZN, actually. Eddie Hearn did it. So Logan Paul fought KSI, and it was a rematch. That was kind of like the first just tipping point of kind of paved the way for a Jake Paul, which is Logan Paul's younger brother. Mm-hmm. But I think that they're adding to the sport. I don't think that they're making the sport. A lot of people think that the YouTubers think that if it wasn't for YouTubers, boxing would be dead. This is what I will say. If the YouTubers weren't here, we'd still be doing okay.
Yeah.
However, if it was only YouTubers, they wouldn't be doing okay.
Well, so let me ask you, because this is going back to basically when you were really still, maybe at the beginning parts of your professional career when you were fighting. And that's where some of the celebrity boxing got some attention. And that was almost like the predecessor to the YouTubers coming up, because there was no YouTube back then, really.
No, not really.
So when you're a fighter and you're seeing these sort of promotions go off, the celebrity boxing, what I have called for several weeks, the circus events, you as in the professional shoes at that time, what are you thinking as a professional boxer watching these things go off?
Well, the celebrity boxing was kind of a big deal because I remember all the way back in 2004 when I made my pro debut, I believe that's when MTV had that celebrity boxing. Mm-hmm. That celebrity boxing matches. I can't remember what it was called. I think it was called celebrity boxing maybe. So it didn't bother me. I knew people were tuning in just to watch some entertainment. It was horrific boxing, but they tuned in to watch it. I remember also watching Shaquille O'Neal fought Oscar De La Hoya.
Yeah.
Shaquille O'Neal's 7 foot something. Oscar De La Hoya's 5'10". So this stuff has been going on for a fair amount of time. So it's not like this is brand new.
But as a professional at the time, you didn't see yourself being like, come on, man, why are we watching this rather than watching the putting the attention on the real cards?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, no. And I know a lot of people, as a professional boxer myself, they want me to be mad about this. They do. A lot of people want me to be mad. They're like, oh, you should be mad. I'm like, I'm not. Because I was just having this conversation with one of my friends, and I said, I genuinely believe boxing is at the peak. It is at the highest that I believe it's ever been. And I think that a lot of thanks are to the YouTubers. But I'm not giving them all credit. I'm giving it credit because I think Jake Paul has led that front. And I think Jake Paul, for the most part, has done it better than a Logan Paul or a KSI or any of those other guys.
He's definitely got the marketing hat really well. Well, let's fast forward to today's market, because what we're seeing, there's a lot of money flowing into these kind of events. There's a lot of attention, media attention. So if I'm an up and coming legit professional boxer, okay? And I'm not trying to say that a Jake Paul isn't technically a professional, but you know what I mean.
Yep.
Guys that have been fighting their whole life, broke into the pros, have a nice record building up, they're building up steam. If I'm one of these guys and I'm looking at this event and I'm seeing all the eyes on it,
Yep.
what am I thinking? If I'm still trying to make my way through, what am I thinking as the professional? Like, come on.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I've said it on the show many times, though. You have to reinvent yourself. Don't change your boxing. I'm not saying that at all. Professional boxers, you are professional because of your skill, period. What you do inside that ring, don't change that. I'm not saying that at all. Do not change your fighting style. If you're good at what you do at your certain style, keep to that. Don't change who you are. Be authentic still. However, once you turn pro, it's more of a marketing game. It's more of a promoting game. So, yes, let's start taking some pages out of Jake Paul and Logan Paul. Start taking some pages out of others. Because at the end of the day, no matter what these guys do, let's say they fade out in a year or two, they're going to make 5, 10, 15, 20, $100 million, even after a couple of years. So you can't hate those guys for learning the hustle. And I say this all the time, and I really mean it. And I wish my younger professional boxers can look to this and see, because here, I'll tell you one guy that actually kind of has mastered the social media network, and that's, oh my gosh, Ryan Garcia.
Sure.
Legit pro, undefeated, should be fighting for a world title soon. That kid learned it too because he's massive on social media. He got a big gathering on social media. And I remember friends of mine, when the kid was like 5, 6, 7, and 0, they're reaching out to me like, oh, Travis, who's Ryan Garcia? King Ryan. I'm like, I don't know who that is. And it was kids that never watched boxing.
Yep.
So I do think that's the next wave of advertising. It's going to be coming from social media. It's going to be coming from themselves, because still, this is where boxing is lagging behind the UFC in this regard. Is Dana White, as much as I really don't like the guy very much, he's an evil genius, and he knows how to promote.
He's a marketing genius.
But he's young still. He's got a young mind.
Yeah.
And I think that professional boxing right now is led by guys like Bob Arum, who's 80-something years old.
Yep.
Okay? What they've done does work.
Yeah.
I've said this many times about Bob Arum. As much as I don't like the way he does a lot of stuff, it's worked.
And listen, he's recently been in front of a camera. He doesn't need to be in front of a camera anymore. Come on. We want youthful energy, and that's what you're seeing from TikTokers and YouTubers and all this stuff that are getting into boxing. Okay, so let me attack this from a different point of view, because I'm just trying to, maybe I'm trying to goad you a little bit, because I like it when people get on there and basically they're like, Weekend Trav has no idea what he's talking about. His opinion is dog crap.
I love it.
That's the soundbite.
I love it.
By the way, I was trying to get the soundbite. So that is a sound. Hold on, I'm gonna write that down. 16:30. Okay.
I put my sunglasses on off Big Daddy when I feel attacked.
So let me frame this thing.
To hide.
Let me frame these events that we've seen recently. Okay. And we've talked about them on and off for various episodes. So if you've heard this from us before, so what? You're listening again. Give us a like, give us a thumb up down there, subscribe to the content, because this is what you're going to get from us. You're going to get our real opinion on these things. The YouTube events go off. The YouTube fighters fight. They're not fighting boxers. They're fighting MMA people. They're fighting other people coming into the sport of boxing now from the shoes of the professional boxer. Yeah. Am I getting agitated yet that these guys are pulling in guys from the other side, the other sport, getting them paydays? Where's my payday?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and so there's a good and a bad thing about that, what Jake Paul and them are doing. I know what they're doing because they're marketing, right? And in boxing, what people don't realize is no matter who it is, they go all the way back to even Mike Tyson. When Mike Tyson first turned pro, he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, and 0. He was fighting perfectly matched people, okay? They were putting people in front of him that were perfectly matched.
Sure.
Okay? But what they didn't have to deal with was a guy like Jake Paul who needs to fight somebody that's popular and that will sell. They cannot put a guy in the ring with Jake Paul like they did in Mike Tyson. A 3-0 Mike Tyson right now it'd be easy for matchmaking for him. Okay? Sure. He's only 3-0. He's not making a ton of money. A 3-0 Mike Tyson wasn't making a ton of money. There's not cards that were based on Mike Tyson at 3-0. So the business aspect of Jake Paul becomes very tricky because he's only 3-0. As much as everybody wants to see him fight great fighters, regardless of who he's fighting right now, there's a reason why he's fighting these guys. They're building his career like they would build any other world champion. That's how you build world champions. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be a world champion, but they're building him in hopes of that.
Right. What kind of irritates me, though, is leading into this one that he has coming up here with Tyrone Woodley, there is the opportunity for a Tommy Fury. Really, I mean, and they were
As far as we know.
As far as we know, and it seems like even on the social media side of things, it was kind of slowly building. You heard the rumblings from both sides on social media a bit, and then that kind of fell on its face. And then here we are, pitted against another MMA guy. No offense to MMA guys, because I love mixed martial arts. That's really kind of what got me interested in all this stuff. Anyways, that's how we met. MMA guy. That's how we really met. But if I'm a professional boxer, a pugilist, if you will. Right?
I like it.
Word. I got to be frustrated at this point because we're here still. We're plodding along. We're cranking out our record. We're doing what we can to make it through. Yet all of a sudden now we're just pulling in guys from the other sport and we're giving them the checks. I want to fight these guys. I want to be on this card. How do I get on this card instead of it's just a bunch of random old guys and old names and old MMA guys fighting these random Come on.
It's tough because you're not wrong, but you're also not right, because if Jake Paul 3-0, let's just say, for example, Jake Paul is 190 pounds. He's in between light heavyweight and cruiserweight. I'm going to just throw out a name of an old guy that I know, not old, but around my age. He is a journeyman professional boxer from Missouri. Okay.
Let me pause you, Weekend Trav.
Okay.
You are old like me. So that is an old guy. Your age.
Okay. So he might be older than me. But anyway, it's a guy, he's Tyler Sheaver. He's had 20 plus pro fights, right? I think he's like 15 and 15 or whatever it is before 30. He's like 14 and 16, something like that, right? If Jake Paul fights a guy like him, that's a legit veteran pro boxer, right? But who's going to buy it? So people want to say these things, but I promise you, if they let's even say they put Jake Paul in there with a guy who's 2-2, a 2-2 pro boxer, his name's going to be Joe Schmo from Iowa.
Right.
Who the hell's going to buy that?
Nobody.
That's why it's actually thankful for the UFC guys. Thankful that there are sacrificial lambs right now, essentially. They really are. They're sacrificing themselves to build this kid's career.
It's counterintuitive. I get that. What I would like to see these cards look like is the following. You get this kind of a main event. You get like obviously, because we're talking about him, the YouTuber Jake Paul. It's soon to be, eventually we're just going to call him the boxer Jake Paul.
He already wants that.
Jake Paul versus fill-in-the-blank MMA guy that will draw some audience. Maybe even have a co-main event that's a similar structure. The rest of the card needs to be legitimate fights.
Yeah.
Legitimate boxers who are going to get a nice payday for just being on the card.
Yeah.
That's what to me, that's what it needs to look like. And it's not looking like that, and it's wildly frustrating.
I mean, the Triller crap show card when he fought Ben Askren, knocked him out the first round. That was a real pro fight, but remember that boxing match? How'd that turn out? It was terrible.
Everything before that?
They were real pro fights, though. It wasn't very good. There was like 4.
Yeah, but they weren't good. The format of that whole thing was messed up, and that's
Triller.
That's a whole other discussion when it comes to Teofimo Lopez and Bob Arum's
They're in trouble there.
Plan B there.
Triller's in trouble.
We were not going to talk about that this week. That might be coming up, but I don't know, Weekend Trav. I don't think there's an honest answer or a final answer here. It's one of these things where you just got to eat the turd and deal with it.
Listen, to be fair, Tyrone Woodley versus Jake Paul is going to be exciting.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited. I really am, because I'm still saying that Jake Paul wins that fight. I'm saying that for sure. And he's going to be my prediction. I don't know how. But Tyrone Woodley is a lot tougher than Ben Askren.
He's looked a lot better.
Even though he's older, he's just tougher, and you could tell the mindset. Even Ben Askren was training. He can lie all he wants, and his body looked terrible, but he was still training, and he actually tried. And when he got knocked out the first round, he acted like he didn't even try, but he was trying. That's a good way of really deflecting. You got your ass kicked.
Right.
But Tyrone Woodley, this guy's got some ego and some pride in this, and you could tell he's like, okay, I don't want to get knocked out by Jake Paul. I don't want to be a meme. You know what I mean?
And listen, he has trained. That was my pen. He has trained. I mean, and that's not just the past couple months. Woodley's trained boxing in his past. He's
more of a wrestler, though.
Yeah, the wrestler, sure. But watching him actually train, like I know you say everyone can make mitts look good. What are we looking for over there? Why? You need one? I got one. I got the pen right here. No, just the cap came off. Look at that. Weekend Trav. Pulling up the stops for the producer. It's going to be much tougher matchup. So if we fast forward to the fight, here's my concerns. If Woodley makes an easy example of Jake Paul. The experiment's over. Okay?
Completely.
Completely
yes,
over.
It really is.
And in fact, I think that hurts boxing if the experiment's over.
You think so?
I think so.
How
think
come?
so. Because then all of a sudden you shut the door on a certain viewership, that fan base that was starting to get excited, that maybe would have been watching other things because they're waiting for their YouTube boy, okay? YouTube man.
Yeah.
He's a man, right? So I think that shuts the door on a certain fan base. And then there's less talking. The less we're talking about the sport, the less notoriety.
Yeah, I mean, I think that boxing right now, without Jake Paul and Logan Paul, they're still established. You got guys like Canelo Alvarez. This is not going to affect his Paul at all.
I agree.
But you're not bringing in the new ones.
Correct.
We're going to stick to what we had.
But
that's traditional fans.
Then we're going back to the same amount that Fox Sports and ESPN and all these things were actually talking about boxing. Going back, whereas during these kind of crazy bouts, it's like the first thing they're talking about.
Yeah.
So if the experiment gets shut down, I don't think that's a good result for boxing. Temporarily.
Yeah, I think temporarily for sure. I think people are, for sure it'll be temporary, but it depends on who shuts it down too. If Tyrone Woodley shuts it down, I think it expands more because now I think more UFC guys are going to try to come over.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
But it depends on who shuts him down. So if Tyrone Woodley doesn't do it, which I don't think he will, to be fair. If it's somebody else, some random guy, who knows? What other UFC guy could he pick off at this point? Retired UFC guy.
I don't know. So
we're going for Mike Perry next, possibly. That'd be entertaining.
He's not retired. He's
Build
still
up.
fighting, but
That's the next step, I think, though, as a current one.
Yeah. So
Well, Dana wouldn't let that
do we
happen.
want to watch, retired, semi-retired MMA guys come over and box each other?
No.
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 So I think Jake Paul.
Well, I think they would start calling out actual pro, like legit pro boxers.
Maybe.
I'm saying, if he wipes Jake Paul's butt.
So here's the thing. Jake Paul needs to win this.
Yes.
He has to win
yes.
this. Like him or not.
He's in a do or die.
Jake Paul needs to win for the betterment of boxing. Quote that. Jake Paul needs to win for the betterment of boxing.
Oof, I don't know if I can agree with that, but I think that Jake Paul is in a very tricky predicament. People are like, oh, he's making all this money and he doesn't deserve it. Bullcrap. This guy has a win or go home right now because the way that he's built himself up, the way they've marketed all of this, if you're anybody else, you're Floyd Mayweather, you're anybody else, they're building your career early, and you take one loss early, you're not necessarily done.
No.
But if Jake Paul takes a loss early, he's done.
Yes.
Experiment's over. So this kid actually has it pretty tough if you think about it. The critics are pretty harsh on this guy, probably for good reason, because he never had an amateur career. Mm-hmm. So that's why they're extra strict on him, because they're like, oh, this guy doesn't deserve to make $900,000 or $1 million a fight because he's 3-0. But the kid's got a lot of pressure. A lot of it he put on himself, 100%. But he's making a ton of money.
And that's why, so like it or not, yes, his character sometimes comes into question. The way he comes about, but I am never going to disrespect the level of marketing and hustle that the kid has, because he's put himself out there. He's put himself in a position where he's got to win, or else he is going to be the one that's eating the proverbial turd of boxing. But I do believe that when you look at the vast landscape, short-term landscape, he needs to beat Woodley. And that's not saying I want him to.
Absolutely, yes.
That's not
As
saying
a business standpoint, he needs to.
That's not me saying personally I want him to beat him, but I'm saying for the betterment short-term of boxing, he needs to, because this experiment needs to keep going.
Yeah. They're going to milk this best as they can.
They
if he
need
loses,
to.
they can't milk it.
And you know what? Even better for the guys coming across the river in order to fight him.
Yep.
Mainly an MMA guy.
But, Jake Paul just did something really good this weekend over in Puerto Rico. Him and BJ Flores put on this amateur boxing event, and it was I can't remember what they called it, but it was something against bullies.
Well, it was a nonprofit event in Puerto Rico, and they had a bunch of it was either middle school and or high school. I don't remember the age range, but it was a bunch of kids that came in, and it was the whole spiel what you would expect. It was the anti-bullying campaign. Put them through an hour of workout of boxing. All the kids got gloves and stuff like that. It was actually, you know what, you can hate on this guy as much as you want, and maybe that wasn't necessarily for the right reasons.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case. I think it was for the proper.
It seemed fairly genuine.
And plus, your friend BJ Flores, his trainer, he was out there too working it. And listen, that's the right stuff to do, because beyond boxing, investing in the youth of America, which you and I both do in different ways,
Yep.
is vital to the success not only of the sport and other sports, but also our country and
Our
society.
yeah.
So kudos to Jake Paul. If anyone out there is listening and you have something negative to say about that, please comment below. Please tell us,
Yeah.
because we want to see what kind of an idiot you are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, how do you honestly bag on the guy for putting on an event like this? And he paid for it.
Yeah.
He paid for gloves, all this stuff, gave it to the guys, kids there. So also, second topic that we should touch on, this kid is grinding, is that we've been doing our podcast for over a year now. We're on our second year of our podcast, right, on YouTube. This kid figured out how to get 22 million YouTube followers. You and I both know how hard it is to gain YouTube followers.
Yeah.
This kid's doing something, guys. Say what you want about him. Say it was character, whatever else. The kid's doing something right. And to be a YouTube creator, you have to put in a lot of time. I mean, these kids are constantly putting out videos after videos after videos. Is it not the same as a normal everyday like 9-to-5 job? But it's a grind, and
Now,
if you don't know about it, it is.
To be fair, they have production teams and crap that do
They
that.
did it when they first started,
But
though.
when they
Yeah.
first started, YouTube. So
Yes.
yeah, different animal. They were on the ground floor. So to the youth of America listening to our voice, if you're listening, find whatever is going to be the next thing and get started now when it's early.
Yep.
If something is a new platform, new tech, jump in it now, because
Yep.
you never know when it'll explode. YouTube was barely a thing when I don't remember when it came about. Maybe I was in college. I don't even think it was there when I was in college.
No, it wasn't, because I turned pro in 2004, and YouTube was not very prevalent then.
No.
There was not YouTube videos of guys getting knocked out. So
if you have
it wasn't even prevalent
platform-
then.
Listen, the world is in a cool spot.
It was there,
right
but it
now.
wasn't prevalent.
Technology's like, there's a lot of cool stuff that's going to happen for like my kids and your newborn when you know. So there's so many cool things going on. YouTubers and TikTokers. Final thought on that. Are YouTubers and TikTokers ruining boxing? Sum it up.
No.
Okay. There you have it. Weekend, Travis Hartman. Like his opinion or not, that's it. It is not ruining. Okay, let's shift gears here. There's no good segue into it other than the fact that the Olympics are going on in Japan. Weekend,
Yep.
Trav, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, I have watched 0 seconds of this. I've read some articles, and it's only been going on for a few days, but I've watched 0. And in fact, one article I read is that the ratings for the Olympics are hitting like 30-year lows
Yeah.
on NBC.
Yep.
What a surprise. There's no fans.
No fans. Yep.
No one cares. It's a year late.
It's a bummer, man.
It's a bummer. It's a bummer for the athletes,
Yep.
not necessarily the spectators. Who cares?
Yeah.
The athletes who have trained their whole lives in some cases.
Yep.
However, there are some sports where they're professional athletes making multi-millions of dollars, and they're just randomly there on a team. And you know what?
They're getting beat.
Which brings us to the where's it going?
Oh,
Here we go.
wait.
Here we go. The money shot of the week.
That was real money,
Money
folks.
shot of the week. I was about to pull up my
Don't
portion.
start taking any of my money.
It's my money. No, it's not. So money shot of the week, weekend Trav. I read about this, and we're going to go to pool play of USA basketball. They're taking on France, and obviously it's kind of cool because you see all these other players that are on these other countries' teams. They play in the NBA, so these guys know each other, right?
Yeah.
They know who they're playing.
So France has got some NBA players.
They got
on their
some
team.
talent.
Yeah.
USA's beating them. We got about a minute left in this game. And what happens, and you're going to see the video highlight. Hopefully they don't take it down, but it's there. Evan Fournier, who
Yep.
used to be with the Orlando Magic, now at the Boston Celtics, I believe.
I did not know that, actually.
Okay, yeah, he was traded mid-year because that's, we were blowing up the team in order
Yeah,
to
we
rebuild.
were there. One of the games we were at, Fournier played.
So Fournier hits a three-pointer over Kevin Durant, which you should be seeing on the screen now.
It was a kickback. He got it. Kevin Durant's kind of running out for it, and Fournier drills a three. It was a go-ahead three for the win.
Go-ahead three for the win. 1 minute to play. France never looked back. Beat USA in pool play. Last time that happened, weekend Trav. Guess what the USA, how they placed overall in the Olympics?
Got a bronze medal.
Bronze.
So it's not looking good.
Not looking good so far.
It's
Plus,
not looking good, guys.
lead-up matches back a week or so ago, they were losing week.
I think
matches.
I think they said we've lost 3 of 4 matches, exhibition matches leading up to this. I'm pretty sure it's been 3 or 4. So USA
could-
basketball, NBA.
It couldn't happen to a nicer set of professional athletes.
I know. I would agree. I mean, these NBA players, I mean,
entitled, spoiled brats.
And it's not even that. We don't even have everybody playing for their own country.
Yeah.
I think what happened was China. Paid LeBron. They said, "Hey, you're going to stay home. We're going to cancel your contract.
I thought he was on.
Don't play."
I thought he was on China's national team.
Well, he's on their payroll.
So
he's not on their actual team.
Got it.
He's on their payroll. He's at home watching high school basketball games while USA is getting smoked. They're not getting smoked.
As a proud HBO Max subscriber, I can tell you this: I refuse and will not watch that stupid movie with LeBron James in it. That is a defamation of the original.
Yeah, I mean, we're older now. Obviously, that's nostalgic for me.
Space Jam.
You cannot remake Space Jam.
You can't.
Without Michael Jordan.
You can't. And it's so like...
I know what they're trying to do, and you know what they're trying to do. They're trying to put him out there, but I heard that he didn't do a very good job.
Well, plus, you know what? When I looked at the couple clips and things like that, it just the overall feeling of the movie is dark. Like, it's not fun.
Yeah.
Space Jam back in the day was fun. You got Jordan out there and Barkley and all those guys. I mean,
Patrick Ewing.
I mean, that was fun.
Muggsy Bogues,
fun. So you know what? Whatever. So money shot of the week, going backwards. Money shot of the week goes to Evan Fournier, 3-pointer over Kevin Durant in pool play to take home the victory for France over USA basketball. Yikes.
It doesn't mean that U.S. still can't win the gold because they still can.
They can, yeah.
But it's not a good start.
Not a good start.
They've had a rocky start. They've had a rocky season ratings-wise. They have all that going on. And now we don't have our best players. I mean, that's just all there is to it. We don't have our best players playing. We have some really good players. You have Kevin Durant, Damian Lillard, for sure. But for whatever reason, they're not putting it together.
Yeah, it'll take some time. Now, sticking with the theme of the Olympics, let's go straight into Beard of the Week. Another new segment that we've been doing here. Beard of the Week. Bring, there's like a whole thing. Beard of the Week. Okay, so we struggled with this one weekend, Trav, because we want it to be relevant to the moment. There hasn't been a ton going on, like necessarily boxing action over the week. You know, professional sports has kind of died down a little bit. You got baseball, but we don't watch baseball really. So we saw an article, or at least I saw an article, that talked about Michael Phelps. Remember him? Mr. Olympian. Had how many gold medals? I don't even know. Last count.
Dude,
a million?
Too many.
He had 1 million.
Like 1,000,001.
1,000,001 gold medals. This guy came back, did some commentary for a swimming event, and everyone was raving about his beard. So we're putting it on the screen now. Yes, that's our...
He gets it. This is the beard of the
week. It's
week.
the beard of the week. It's our cop-out beard of the week.
Let's call this guy Mr. Olympian, though.
But it's
like,
dang Michael Phelps. Hey, remember...
Dude was a stud.
Remember when there was like a big old what to do because he was caught smoking pot?
Yes.
And now look at us.
Yes.
Look at the lengths, or look at how far we've fallen in our sports society. Gosh. Yikes. Okay, beard of the week, bummer. Okay.
Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps, beard of the week. Okay, last thing we're going to stick to with the topic of the Olympics. I mentioned at the beginning part of the show. Yep. Let's talk a little bit about, from a fighter's perspective, the Olympic boxing versus the traditional professional boxing.
Yep.
You know, so I know you've trained different ways, and you've trained both ways there with... I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean it that way.
Be money.
Or did I? We need a new demographic. Our views are down, so we need a new demographic here.
We do.
On weighing in with Travis Hartman.
Yes.
Okay, so we need a new... Anyways.
I about did something.
So let's talk. Let's talk about the differences, at least from your perspective as a fighter, when you're looking at the Olympics or training for that, or when you're competing in that sort of format versus the traditional professional format.
So the crazy thing is a lot has changed since I was amateur 2004. I fought in the Western Olympic Trials in the United States. It was in Bakersfield, California. Lost in the quarterfinals. But I say that because in 2004, our Olympic boxing was still amateur. It was one of the very few sports in Olympics that were still amateur athletes. As of the last Olympics, boxing is actually, professionals can now compete in the Olympics. So why I say that is because they've also changed the scoring around. The scoring used to be computer scoring when I was up and coming. And now, as of this year, they are doing the 10-point must system, which is just like professional boxing. However, the cool part about this is, I actually like this. So in professional boxing, they have 3 judges. Mm-hmm. All 3 judges' scores matter. In amateur boxing in the Tokyo Olympics, they're having 5 judges. All 5 score the fight. Okay, and then randomly a computer chooses 3 of those 5 judges' scorecards to score. That way, if a judge is corrupt, there's a good chance that maybe his score won't get submitted.
So it's a little different than there's some other sports that go to judge in the Olympics, like gymnastics, diving, things like that, where they'll do similar scoring.
It's like an
it's not
average,
exactly
though.
the same, but they'll drop, I think, the bottom and the top judges. Just because, you might have, they always say you have the Russian judge with those Russian gymnasts, like they all get to 10s or whatever. They are all 10s. Let's go back to boxing.
So it's kind of a cool system. I think that they're trying to weed out bad decisions and things like that.
Sure.
They also don't have headgears. They put headgears on them for a while. They took headgears off now. So amateur boxers are fighting in the Olympics with no headgear. I'm absolutely against it, based on the fact that when you're in the Olympics, you have to fight consecutive times during a week.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay. So with headgears, it cuts down on the cuts. Okay. When you're amateur boxing with no headgear, it's so much easier to get cuts. An accidental elbow, accidental headbutt. You obviously can still get those with amateur boxing with a headgear, but you see it very rarely. It cuts it down. So there's some crazy study that they did, I think in 2012, AIBA, which I think is very corrupt. They did a study and said that headgears, when fighters wore headgears, they sustained worse damage concussion-wise than without wearing a headgear. So they eliminated the headgear. Listen, it's all about money, and it's all about ratings, and people don't want to see, when people watch boxing, they want to see blood, guts, knockouts, right? Headgears do cut down on the knockouts and the blood because you don't get cut as much.
Sure.
So I think AIBA, wanting to boost all of their sales, their revenue, whatever else, was like, take the headgears off and let's claim that it's for safety. And they did that. And now fighters are literally, if you get cut and you cannot fight, you're forfeiting it.
Yeah.
So you're going to see stuff like that happening. And that's what I don't agree with and I don't like. So there's no headgears, and they're claiming there's no headgear because it's safer. In what world is that safer? You have a pad on your face that sticks off about that much, and you have cheek protectors that stick off about that much, but they're telling me and telling the rest of the world that it's more dangerous.
So between that and like one of the other main differences, and we couldn't find the specifics, but the round count is different typically, right?
Yeah.
Shorter round count and that sort of thing. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, that's what we're having to look forward to. I don't know if there's been any action yet because it's pretty early in the Olympics at this point. There's only been a couple days worth of action. But when we're looking at the differences between, let's say, we're watching Ryan Garcia and Luke Campbell, versus
Longer rounds. Pros, you see
Longer
longer
rounds.
rounds. You don't see as much action early, but amateur boxing, this is my comparison, is right now in the Olympics, it's more of a sprint. Professional boxing, it's a marathon.
got it.
That's
So,
the easiest way to sum that up.
So the illusion that I brought in, or to tie it together, is because I mentioned Ryan Garcia and Luke Campbell. Going back to the fight they had in Dallas, one of the people in Luke Campbell's camp was our friend,
That's right.
friend of the program, Chris Billum-Smith, out in the UK. He is fighting Tommy McCarthy here this weekend. We wanted to give a quick shout out to him and support. They're fighting for the Commonwealth Cruiserweight title, which is the quote-unquote British Empire Cruiserweight title.
Yep.
That's going to be on Saturday, the 31st, July 31st with DAZN. They're currently in fight camp right now. So we just wanted to give a shout out and our support to our guy, the gentleman.
The gentleman, and like he is a gentleman.
He is,
too, like
he's
in
really
real
nice.
life, like first time we ever met him, like off camera, all that stuff. Pretty nice
Good
guy.
dude. So, good luck to you in your match this weekend. Hopefully we'll be able to have you on the show after this weekend. We know you're busy this week.
Yep.
Very cool.
Look forward to having you on in this corner for sure.
So take a look. DAZN, listen, they have a few things coming up here. I think maybe last week was one, and then this week, the week following, you got Benny Bridges fighting,
Yeah.
which the blonde bomber. She made some headlines last fight.
The blonde bombshell.
So there's a lot of good stuff coming up with that promotion, and names you probably never heard of, but it's going to be competitive. So as boxing fans, please tune in to whatever you can that's going to be on TV. Maybe ESPN has some stuff. The Olympics are going to kind of take a lot of coverage away, unfortunately, or fortunately, depends on whether or not you're a sheep or not. But anyways, so
It's not half bad.
that's at least. Ooh, I gotcha. Let's give a quick take here on this quarter horse reserve we're drinking. I know there is no transition to this, but we've had quarter horse before, but not the reserve, I don't think.
I don't think so either. I think
So
you're right.
we can Trav 0 to 10 boxing gloves. Give me your opinion on it, and then give me the number.
Let's see. It was solid. So I'm gonna give it a fairly high rating. I'm gonna go 6.7.
Okay.
Solid. I would drink again.
That is solid.
It's a solid. I would drink. We're very, very strict on our stuff. Like I said, we rarely ever go above 7.
Yeah.
So when people hear this and they hear us say a 6 point something, don't be discouraged because we've literally, we've had a handful that we've done over 7. I don't think we've ever had an 8 or a 9. So we're very strict. So please take that into consideration because I know that I drink. A couple weeks ago, we drank the Knob Creek Maple one, and the friend that got that for me for my birthday, she's like, "Oh my gosh, now I know not to get that for you." And I was like, "No, I 6 point. Did I say 7.0 or it was like a 6.8, 6.9 something? Average was 6.9, so I think I gave it a 7 actually, and you gave it a 6.8 to make it average.
6.9.
So, and I was
That's
like,
actually
no.
a good score.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you have to realize if you go
Nice.
through all of our scores that this. Even though it sounds low, it's actually pretty high for us because we never go above 7.0, hardly ever.
So I'm drinking this. I started drinking with some ice, and then once the ice melted down, I finished. I did a little pour top off. You can go back in the episode and review it, and also that'll help give us more seconds and minutes of you watching the video. I'm drinking it neat right now. Weekend Trav. I actually really like the Quarter Horse. I spoke to somebody at the liquor store about it. And he was really talking about the main blend of it, but I saw the reserve. I'm like, that's for me because
ding.
be money, you're gonna spend that money.
It was also
Because
double points, right?
I got this funny money. So you gave it a 6.7. I'm giving it 7.2. That's a big score for me. Big.
What's that average it out to?
Hold on a second, because I had to do the math because it's not an easy division thing in my head after I've been drinking.
Okay.
So on average, we're giving it 6.95 boxing gloves.
We're not going to round up either. It's a 6.9.
6.95 because this is a PG-13 show. Anyways, so that is the bourbon take for the week because Weekend Trav, you know we are the #1 beards, bourbon, and boxing podcast.
Filmed in Orlando, Florida.
I wanted to see if you would do it.
Specifically Laureate Park, specifically in a boxing gym.
Shot on a Sunday or Monday.
Shot on a Sunday or Monday.
Today is Sunday.
Lately it's been a Sunday because
Yeah.
we're back on track.
Yeah.
In the world.
In the world. In that demographic, we're #1,
In
folks.
the world.
Try to find somebody else that does that in Laureate Park, Orlando, Florida boxing
Period.
gym. Period.
You will
You're
not.
gonna find it, yeah.
And if you do, we'll still blow their
We're
doors
gonna
up because
blow
I'll
the
knock on
doors
their
open.
door. And when they answer it, they're going to go, do. And I'll knock them out. That way, we will also be the only one in that demographic now.
Bingo bango. Thank you to our media partners today. That is TH Boxing, IF Enterprises, and Gulfstream Financial, as always, to your media support. You know, Weekend Trav, we had a good show here. We were talking a bit. We talked to the Olympics, the differences there, but also, you know, really what you came here for. Are YouTubers and TikTokers ruining boxing, specifically Jake Paul and the like? And our answer to you is no. Unfortunately, I think, and this maybe just be me, Jake Paul needs to win for the betterment of boxing.
What do y'all think?
Tell us what you think down below. Comment, subscribe, like, blah, blah, blah. We love you all.
Bada bing, bada boom.
That there is Weekend Trav.
That there is B Money, a.k.a. producer.
Thanks for joining us. God bless.